Welcome to the deep dive, everybody, and a special welcome to anyone joining us from the F1 Blog's YouTube channel.
Thanks for having us.
Today, we are going deep on the future of Aston Martin's Formula One team.
Specifically, their 2025 car.
Yeah, they've promised big changes.
Big changes, and coming right from Lance Stroll himself.
Ooh. Okay, spill the tea.
A new and better philosophy, he says, for the car.
So, that's a very interesting statement, and I'm curious as to why Lance Stroll would be the one to announce this.
I think you and me both.
Would this not typically come from like an engineer or...
Or the team principal, right?
Yeah. What do you think that means?
Well, I think it raises a few questions about Aston Martin's internal communication strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even their overall strategy.
Right.
Was this a calculated move to generate hype?
Right.
Or did Stroll just kind of like, let's say, let the cat out of the bag a little early, you know? And it's especially interesting because this comes after, how should we say, a slightly underwhelming 2024 season for the team.
Yeah. I mean, they had pretty high hopes for 2024.
They did.
And it just didn't quite materialize.
It didn't really pan out the way they hoped.
What went wrong?
A lot of things.
Yeah.
They introduced a number of upgrades throughout the season,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of them turned out to be, well, as Stroll himself put it, decepcionantes.
Oh, wow. Using the Spanish there.
Yeah.
So not great upgrades then.
No, not really. They just didn't deliver the performance boost that they were looking for, and they struggled to maintain consistency on track.
Okay, so internal issues then with the car's development and performance.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
But there's also, from the source material, this connection to Mercedes, and this is where it gets interesting to me.
Right.
Because they use Mercedes engines and some key components for their car, right?
That's right.
So how much is that?
They rely heavily on Mercedes for their power unit, their gearbox, and perhaps most crucially, their rear suspension.
Okay, and how does that play into this? Because didn't Mercedes have their own struggles in 2024?
They did.
Especially with the rear end of their car?
Yeah, and that's where this gets kind of tricky for Aston Martin.
Okay, so Mercedes' problems are now Aston Martin's problems.
Well, in a way, yeah, you could see it that way.
That's not a recipe for success.
Maybe not, but maybe it is.
How so?
Because this forced redesign could be a blessing in disguise.
Okay.
Let me explain.
Okay.
Mercedes struggled a lot with tire management, especially in hot conditions, and it seems like their rear suspension was a major culprit in that.
Okay, so for our viewers at home who are not super familiar with the technicalities of F1,
Sure.
Explain how tire management is so crucial.
Tire management is everything in Formula One.
Yeah.
The tires are the only point of contact between the car and the track.
Right.
And if you can't keep them in the right temperature window, if you can't manage their wear, your performance is going to suffer.
Even if your engine is amazing.
Exactly. So a bad rear suspension design means the tires can overheat and they'll wear out too quickly. And that's exactly what Mercedes was battling.
And now because Aston Martin uses those Mercedes parts, they have to make a change too.
Yeah, Mercedes is making major changes to their suspension for 2025.
Okay.
And that means Aston Martin has to adapt as well.
Wow. So this kind of takes it out of their hands a little bit.
To a degree, yes. But like I said, it could be a good thing.
A blessing in disguise.
Exactly. It gives them a chance to completely rethink their car's design.
Okay.
Address some of their pre-existing issues.
So is this forced change from Mercedes? Like, is that where Stroll's new philosophy comes from?
It's definitely a major driving force.
Okay.
They can't just, slap on this new Mercedes rear suspension without making adjustments to the rest of the car.
Yeah.
This is going to impact everything.
Everything.
Their aerodynamics, their weight distribution, ultimately their entire design philosophy.
And all of this is happening while the team is undergoing a major personnel shift.
Right.
We know that big names like Adrian Newey and Enrico Cardile aren't going to be fully on board until later in the year.
Right, later in 2025.
So just to give a bit of context to our YouTube viewers, Adrian Newey is he is the legend.
He's the Michael Jordan of F1 car design.
Exactly.
He's won championships with multiple teams.
Yeah.
The guy's a genius.
And Enrico Cardile.
Also a brilliant engineer.
Yeah, a top-tier engineer with a proven track record.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
If these guys aren't involved yet, then who is actually leading the design of this 2025 car?
So that's where Bob Bell enters the picture.
Okay.
This guy, he's got a legendary resume.
Fill us in.
Okay, so we're talking McLaren, Mercedes, Renault.
Yeah.
Top teams, he's been with all of them.
Yeah.
But here's something that might surprise you. He actually designed the cars that Fernando Alonso won his 2 championships in.
No way. So Bob Bell designed Alonso's championship-winning cars.
Yep.
This is like a reunion tour.
It is. It is.
But with way higher stakes?
Exactly. And that dynamic, I think, we're going to have to keep an eye on that.
Yeah, for sure. But putting someone like Bob Bell, who's been out of the F1 game for a while, in charge of this crucial project, it seems a little risky.
I mean, it's definitely a gamble.
Right.
But remember, Bell has a ton of experience.
Yeah.
He's got the technical expertise, and he's proven himself at the highest level of motorsport. Maybe he's exactly what Aston Martin needs to just lay that solid foundation for the car.
Yeah.
Before the big names like Newey and Cardile come in.
I see the logic there, yeah.
It's a bit of a build-up phase.
Yeah.
Lay the groundwork.
Get the groundwork.
And then stars come in.
Sprinkle the magic.
Exactly.
Okay. I like it. But, Aston Martin, they haven't always lived up to expectations.
It's true. They do have a history of overpromising and underdelivering.
Right.
But I think there's a different vibe this time around.
Interesting.
These design changes that are kind of forced upon them by Mercedes.
In the arrival of Bob Bell, and then eventually bringing Newey and Cardile into the mix.
Yeah.
This could be the catalyst they need to make a real jump forward.
Okay, I'm starting to get on board with this.
Yeah.
Let's see what they come up with. But we can't ignore the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
Which is the 2026 regulations.
Right.
How does this 2025 car fit into the bigger picture?
It's a good question.
With such massive changes coming to the sport.
Yeah, that's what every team is grappling with right now.
Yeah.
These 2026 regulations are going to be a major shakeup for Formula One.
In what way?
Like, we're talking significant changes to power units, aerodynamics.
Okay.
The whole car design is going to be different.
So 2026 is basically like hitting the reset button.
Yeah, you could say.
For the sport.
Yeah.
How does that impact how Aston Martin is approaching this season?
It puts them in a really interesting position.
Yeah.
Because on the one hand, they want to make the 2025 car as competitive as possible.
Of course. But they also know that car is essentially going to be obsolete in a year's time.
Right, yeah.
So they need to find this balance between investing in short-term success and building a strong foundation for the future.
So they're walking this tightrope.
Yeah, it's a tightrope walk for sure.
Trying to maximize 2025.
Right.
But keep one eye on 2026.
Exactly.
Where does Bob Bell's experience and leadership come into this balancing act?
Well, Bell has been through this before.
He has.
He's seen regulation changes come and go. He understands what it takes to adapt and to evolve as a team.
So he's not just focused on winning right now. He's thinking long term.
Yeah, he's looking at the big picture, which is crucial in a sport that's changing this rapidly.
Yeah.
And that's why I think this deep dive into Aston Martin's future is so interesting. We're not just talking about one car.
Yeah.
We're talking about a team at a crossroads.
Yeah.
Facing, a unique set of challenges.
And opportunities.
And opportunities, for sure.
It's a really crucial moment for them.
It is.
And for fans of the sport.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a pretty thrilling ride to see how this all unfolds.
I agree.
We're going to dive deeper into the specifics of Aston Martin's 2025 plans, their driver lineup, and the impact of those 2026 regulations when we come back.
Should be good. And we're back with our deep dive into Aston Martin's future.
Before the break, we were talking about Aston Martin walking this tightrope.
Right.
Trying to balance building a competitive car for 2025. But with those big 2026 regulation changes coming up.
Looming, yeah.
It's a tough spot to be in.
It is. And to make things even more interesting,
right,
let's not forget about their driver lineup.
Right.
You've got Lance Stroll, obviously a bit of a,
Connected,
yes, through his father. And then you've got the legend himself.
Fernando Alonso.
2-time world champion.
Yeah, what a pairing.
It's a very interesting mix.
Talk about contrast.
Yeah, you've got Stroll, who's still relatively early in his Formula One career. Yeah. He's shown glimpses of his potential.
Right.
But he's also struggled to find consistency.
Yeah, like he'll have these amazing drives, and then he just kind of disappears.
Exactly. And then you've got Alonso, who is just this,
fierce competitor.
Yeah, known for his incredible racecraft, determination.
Yeah.
The guy can squeeze every ounce of performance out of a car.
And now he's back working with the guy who designed his championship-winning cars.
It's a full circle moment, isn't it?
Bob Bell and Fernando Alonso back together.
That relationship, it has to count for something.
Yeah.
It could be a major advantage for Aston Martin.
I mean, they already have that trust.
Right.
That rapport.
They understand each other.
Years of experience working together.
That shared history could prove really valuable.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've got this really fascinating driver pairing. This new car philosophy. Born out of necessity, but also ambition.
Yeah.
A veteran engineer at the helm.
Leading the charge.
I mean, on paper, things are looking interesting for Aston Martin in 2025.
They are.
Okay, but let's say everything goes according to plan.
Right.
The car's a step forward. The drivers are performing well. Bob Bell's leadership is paying off.
Yeah.
Realistically.
Okay.
Can Aston Martin crack the top 5 in the Constructors' Championship in 2025?
That is the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's tough to say.
Right.
On paper, they have a lot of potential.
Yeah.
But they are also up against some really, really tough competition.
Like who are we talking?
Ferrari, Red Bull.
Yeah.
Mercedes.
Those are the big dogs.
They are.
Yeah.
They've got the resources,
Right.
history of winning. It's not going to be easy.
So even with all of these changes,
Right.
it's still a pretty big uphill battle.
It is. And let's not forget, the big one.
2026.
The 2026 wild card.
Yeah. Those regulations are going to turn everything upside down.
It's hard to predict how it's all going to shake out.
Yeah. I mean, teams that are on top right now could be struggling.
Exactly.
And vice versa.
Yeah.
Teams in the midfield could find themselves at the front of the grid.
It's a total reset.
So Aston Martin needs to think long term.
They do. They need to position themselves strategically.
For 2026 and beyond?
Exactly.
So 2025 is almost like a proving ground for them.
In a way, yeah.
It's not just about the results.
It's about showing progress.
Yeah.
Showing they can be competitive at the highest level.
Building for the future.
Yeah, it's about laying the foundation.
It's a really exciting time for Aston Martin fans.
It is. It is.
So to really understand the impact of those 2026 regulations, let's break it down.
Okay.
What are we talking about here? What's changing?
Well, one of the biggest changes is going to be to the power units.
Okay. Power units, for anyone who doesn't know, that's the engines, right?
Yeah, the engines and all the hybrid components.
What's going on there?
The 2026 regulations call for a big increase in the electrical power generated by the hybrid systems.
Okay.
So that means we're going to see the cars relying more on electric power and less on the internal combustion engine.
And why is that?
Well, it's all about sustainability.
Okay.
Formula One wants to be at the forefront of sustainable technologies. Reducing their reliance on fossil fuels is a big part of that.
So greener engines.
Yeah, it's a positive step.
What else is changing?
So another big area of focus is aerodynamics.
Okay.
The new regulations are trying to simplify the aerodynamic designs of the cars.
Simplify.
The goal is to reduce the amount of turbulent air or dirty air that the cars create behind them.
Okay, hold on. I need a little help here.
Sure.
What is dirty air and why is it bad?
So imagine a car is following close behind another car.
Okay.
That car encounters this turbulent wake of air coming off the car in front, and that turbulent air makes it much harder for that car to generate downforce.
Okay, and downforce is?
Downforce is the force that pushes the car down onto the track.
Right.
It gives the car more grip.
Right.
And it allows it to corner faster.
So dirty air makes it harder to overtake.
Essentially, yes, because you can't get close enough to the car in front to make a move.
And that's what Formula One is trying to change.
Exactly. They want closer racing.
More overtake.
More exciting races for the fans.
It sounds like they're trying to do what's best for the sport.
Yeah, they want to find a balance between promoting sustainability and, keeping the racing exciting.
Yeah.
But the big question is, how are these changes going to affect the pecking order?
Right.
I mean, could we see teams moving up and down the grid? It's definitely possible.
Right.
Whenever you have big regulation changes, it creates opportunity. For teams that have been struggling, they might suddenly find themselves with the winning formula.
Right.
And teams that have been dominant might struggle to adapt to these new rules.
So like we said, it's like a reset.
It's a chance for everybody to rethink their approach.
And challenge the established order.
Exactly, which is what makes it so exciting.
It's not just about who has the fastest car right now.
Right.
It's about who can adapt and evolve the most effectively.
Absolutely.
So back to Aston Martin.
Yeah, they're trying to build a winning car for 2025. But they also need to be thinking about how to succeed in this new era of Formula One.
They need to be ahead of the curve.
Yeah, it's a challenge that needs vision,
Yeah.
strategy, and a willingness to embrace change.
And for fans of the sport,
Yeah.
I think it's going to be fascinating to see how they handle it all.
It's a story that's still being written.
And we'll be here to watch how it unfolds.
Yeah, it has been a really interesting look at Aston Martin, and
It has, and a big thanks to all of our listeners for joining us on this deep dive into Aston Martin's future.
And a special shout out to everyone watching us on the F1 Blogs YouTube channel.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground.
We have, from the technical details of the 2025 car to the bigger picture stuff with those 2026 regulations.
And I think it's safe to say that Aston Martin is at a bit of a crossroads.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they've had some setbacks, but they're making some bold moves.
They are bringing in some big names.
Huge names.
Adrian Newey.
Enrico Cardile.
And embracing this new philosophy.
Out of necessity.
Yeah.
But also ambition.
Yeah, it's a really unique mix of factors.
It is.
That are all coming together at a pivotal moment for the team.
Absolutely. So the 2025 season is going to be a real test.
It is.
Not just of their car, but of the entire organization.
Yeah. Can they deliver?
Can they walk the walk?
Can Bob Bell, can he do it?
Lay the groundwork.
Yeah, can he lay the foundation for a winning car before the big guns arrive?
Before Newey and Cardile show up.
Yeah, and can Lance Stroll, can he elevate his game?
Yeah, prove he's more than just the owner's son.
Yeah, exactly.
And what about Fernando Alonso?
Yeah, can he recapture that magic?
That championship magic with Bob Bell?
Yeah, the engineer who helped him win his titles.
It's a great story.
It is a fascinating narrative, and I think, you know, these are the questions that will define Aston Martin's 2025 season.
Yeah.
And maybe even their future in Formula One.
Yeah, it's really a story that's still being written.
And we'll be here watching it unfold.
For sure. And for all of you listening.
Yeah.
Especially those of you who are new to the deep dive from the F1 Blogs YouTube channel.
Yes, welcome.
We have one final thought for you.
As you follow the 2025 season, remember to think big picture.
Don't get too caught up in just the race results.
Right.
Pay attention to the team dynamics, the strategies, the technology.
And sort of personality.
It's all part of the story.
It's what makes Formula One so captivating.
Exactly. And that's what we do here at the Deep Dive.
We try to bring you the whole picture.
And if you're watching on F1 Blogs, don't forget to subscribe.
Hit that notification bell.
So you don't miss any of their great Formula One content.
And for everyone listening, share this episode with your fellow F1 fans.
Keep the conversation going.
Until next time.
Keep diving deep.